We are looking at our responsible media spend session here, and to kick us off, we're asking the question, if brands are leaving a considerable amount of spend on the table, and to help us answer that question, please give her a very warm welcome. You can see her up on screen now, and now you can see her in person. It's Lydia Amoah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everybody. How are you? Good. I've got 15 minutes, so you better ask. I've got my timer here because I always do not play by the rules, which is why I run my own business. So as Steve said, my name is Lydia Amoah, the founder of BACKLIGHT. We're a cultural change agency. What does that mean? Well, it means that we are here to ensure that brands, advertising agencies, media owners are really entrenched in understanding the value of the multi-ethnic audience. Who is the multi-ethnic audience? How would I describe them? Well, it would be the African and Caribbean. I could say black, but I just don't want to do a paintbrush. So let's say African and Caribbean with all its nuances, Asian, mixed heritage. The multi-ethnic audience is how we've defined it here at BACKLIGHT. And I was really happy to come and talk about this subject because it's one of my favourite subjects. So I hope that you get involved, you ask questions. No question is a silly question. So if you're in the room, I will provoke you to ask me questions. I might even step out there to come and see you, but let's kick off with the presentation. So, responsible media spend. That is a really good question. How many of you represent advertising agencies? By a show of hands, just so I can see. Okay, media owners? Yeah. Creatives? That's quite broad, isn't it? And freelance, you work for yourself? Have your own business? Okay. Who would like to see more responsible media spend by showing of hands? Okay. And who thinks currently media spend is not invested in the right pockets currently? Hallelujah, we're on the same page. This is really good. Well, we did some research in 2021, 2022, so it's still valid now. 4.5 billion is the economical power, disposable spend of the black, Asian and multi-ethnic consumer in the United Kingdom. And I know even still now with some of the agencies and the media owners that I speak to, that audiences are still surprised regarding how much spends this consumer has. So you know enough about me already, but I will do a shout out to MRS to say that we won an award for our black-owned business study in partnership with Channel 4 and Clear Channel on black-owned businesses and their value and what they bring into the United Kingdom. And we also explored white-owned businesses, Asian businesses, just so we could see the different type of experiences that lie between all of them. And you know, it's really great data, so I'm really glad to see that we won this award. Credibility, these are some of the brands that my agency has worked with. Either they have, I should have had wanted events on there, sorry, but I've got the old media tail, apologies. But we have either provided services for these brands or been in partnership with them. Obviously, I'm really proud about the Vogue shout out because Edward supported the Black Pound report and is a real supporter of the work that we're doing to change the landscape of the industry. But if we think about tapping into the black, Asian and multi-ethnic consumer spending, please do take some photographs of this. It's in the report. If you haven't got it right now, then take pictures of these stats. I remember one of the days, back over 20 years ago, I walked into a department store with a friend of mine, and she went to the till, ran to the counter, was able to buy a plethora of different makeup. And when I asked, look, what brand do you have for me? What would you recommend for me as a brand? You represent all these different brands. They said, oh, sorry, we only provide makeup for normal skin tones. I was absolutely just so shocked that somebody had said to me that, number one, as a young woman, that my skin was not normal, and number two, it wasn't even worth providing a product for. But you can see from these, and I remember leaving that store, well, my friend dragged me out of the store because I might not be standing here right now. But I just thought, if it had to happen to anybody, I was probably the best person to have this situation happen to, because I wasn't going to just leave it. I just knew that one day I would create something to communicate to brands about the value of diverse audiences. But not only, then I realized along the way, it's not just brands I need to speak to. I need to speak to advertising agencies. I need to speak to media owners, because they are responsible solely for advising the brands where to spend their media money. Would you agree with that? Okay, good. Because it took me a long time, because I just always thought, I've just got to speak to the brands. And then now you can see here, this is some of the spend of the Black, Asian, and multi-ethnic audience, what they spend. So you can see makeup per month is £40 million a month just on makeup. I don't know if any of you are surprised by any of these figures, but it's a huge amount. So again, when you think about responsible spend, it's really important that those of you that have the opportunity in your hands, the power in your hands to direct the brands that you work with, not just the brands that you work with, but your own organisations. It's a two-way thing. It's good business, and it means that it improves the bottom line. So many times when I speak to agencies, they become a little bit nervous, and maybe you do as well in this room, when it comes to, you're speaking about a diverse audience, so it comes under the bracket of diversity. Whereas our agency is about, we have a media planning tool that sits on Telmar, which means you can cut the data, segment it against whichever data you currently use at this moment in time. But we also have the report for those that want to maybe have a smaller investment to dip their toe in the water to find out about, all the different segments and what this audience is about, and the makeup, the likes, the dislikes, what they feel is a brand's responsibility. And whatever a brand responsibility, it actually falls upon your responsibility as well. Can you appreciate that? It's so important. There's so much power in your hands. And I really want to come at this conversation with life and power, because currently, I'm not saying there's not a need for it, but there's a lot of conversation that's a bit warped when it comes to the DEI space. And I know that people feel like they're walking on eggshells, but you don't need to walk on eggshells around me, because I always will be direct with you. I won't punish you or make you feel bad about yourself, because how is that going to get us anywhere? Just speak to me honestly and just say, Lydia, I just don't get this, and let me explain and take you to the water so you can drink, okay? Because business is business. This isn't about a charity. This is business. I'm talking about an audience, and I'm not going to call them an underrepresented audience. I will call them an underserved audience, because this audience is very exciting. This audience is very lucrative. This audience basically wants to be respected and wants to have products and services at their fingertips, much like all of us here. Most of you all want a particular service. Most of you want a particular product. And if you find that what you're looking for is missing, you want a solution. You are the solution, okay? So just think about skincare. 41 million. I mean, I'm just fascinated by these figures. I'm not here just to talk about figures, but I just want you to take a photograph of this and just understand, when you go back to work, when you go back to your agency, whether you're on client side, whether you're the creative, or whether you're on media side, these are the stats that you need to know when it comes to media spends. I've got some basic stats here for you to look at. 4.5 million. I mean, when I did the research, I know we always have these conversations about the value of the diverse audiences, but this is talking about, this figure here is after everything. I know you know what disposable income is, but I'm just going to pretend that we're back at school and I'm going to say, do you know what disposable income is? This is after disposable income. And then you have the breakdown. And you think about some of the brands, like I spoke to Diageo recently, and they were very interested in that 2.7 billion spend. Well, so would I if I was them. So would I. So come on. This is all about, if you don't put your spend in the right places, you overlook a particular audience. And the economy is currently constantly talking about, we're not making enough money, or it's an economic downturn, don't get out of bed. You might as well just stay in bed for your rest of your life, because it's awful out there. But at the end of the day, people are still spending. I'm sure every day you spend something already. You invested in a brand this morning before you came to this building, this very building, whether it's a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, whether it's something, a last minute thing you needed for your hair, whether it's a particular hand cream, something, you invested in a brand this morning. So it's always that thinking. Sometimes you're in your job, so you're in it, and sometimes you might even take your own skills for granted. when you could be reaching this audience. And when I talk to you about this audience, it's not in a charitable way. I mean business. I really do mean business. This is an audience just like any other audience that has needs. Me and Lee were talking about, having a conversation earlier about the nuances of individuals. You can't look at one, I can't look at you and just think, okay, I've got you. I can't look at you and go, Rachel, I've got you, I know everything about you, because you've got so many layers and nuances to you. So I'd need to know more about you before I can appeal to you as a consumer or as an audience. For all of us in here. It's the same for you, Chris. If I look at you, I'll be thinking, right, I know I've danced with you in Cannes, but I still need to know more about you. You know, and if I want to appeal to your pocket, because that's what this is about, it's about business, not just about pocket, but obviously it's about doing good business, isn't it? It's about doing good business and doing it responsibly. And there are other media agencies, or shall we say media outlets, that brands, the agencies that you can choose to invest in rather than the regular ones, you know. You can invest in someone like Voice. You can invest in Colourful, Black Ballad. There's so AsianMedia.com. There's so many different places you can spread the brand's media investment to ensure they get a return on their investment. Please get it out of your mind. I'm not saying you do have this, but please remove it from your mind if you think that if it's diversity and you can't talk about commercial viability beside it. That's just ridiculous. You cannot be thinking, if you need to speak to a diverse audience, you can't think about a return on investment because the audience is expecting a return on their investment. So why are you not expecting a return on your investment? This is business after all. I know and I feel this is a really scary conversation. People are so afraid to talk about diversity, but it depends on what is your understanding of diversity, because as far as I'm concerned, everybody in this room is diverse. However, not everybody in this room has had the opportunity to be researched as much as what we have done with the Black Pound report. So now you've got the data and you've got the insights, and there's other places you can go to, then you know there's some exciting things that you can do with the decisions that you make. Every decision that you make has a reaction. Every decision. So these are some of the brands I've researched that are doing pretty well. What I love about Fenty is she hasn't just appealed to the black and brown skin, it's everybody. That's what I require of a brand when I walk in. When I walk into a department store and if I'm buying makeup, of course I will want to invest in a black-owned or brown-owned business because that's where my heart wants to lie. Like most of you might have a place that you want to invest in, but at the same time, I want to see that I have choice. I have choice. You have choice. That's what this is all about. With the case studies, Tesco's recently used the Black Pound report with News UK and another advertising agency successfully to appeal to diverse audiences. So I'll put them down as one of our case studies. NHS, that touches me big time because both my parents unfortunately passed away with cancer. So to now know that this data has been used to ensure that people from multi-ethnic backgrounds, if they're recognising symptoms, will step forward and build that connection with the NHS, which hasn't been there for a long time, but it's beginning to change now. Tom Ford, with a lipstick, they've used the Black Pound report data, Channel 4, use it for Black to Front and so many other things as well. So these are just little examples. Time is going so quick. Time is going so... Can't I have an extra 5 minutes, Steve? No? Okay. All right. So when it comes to... I'm showing you a lot of money figures. I've only got a short amount of time just to show you these in the time that I have, but please do take a photograph of these insights because you'll begin to see, look at the investment. That we're making in our pensions, in our savings. It's there. And I will talk about money because I'm very comfortable talking about money because it's up there with oxygen. We can't do without it, but it does need to be spent responsibly. And when you understand that you've got an audience that you could be serving better, then I think it's actually the responsible spend or the responsibility lies with yourself. So power is actually in your hands. You don't have to look so sad about it. It's a good thing. Okay, so I'm just flipping through this because I don't have time, but I think I'm agreeing that this can be shared with everybody if you want a copy, you know? So I'd say I will move on. Do scan this because I would love everybody in this room to invest in the Black Pound report. Please do scan that because and if you want to speak to me afterwards, I'm around. And I think I've literally just got maybe a minute or so. If anybody has a question for me. Come on. Don't be scared. Do you have a question?
It's more of a comment.
Comment. Okay.
Thank you so much for this conversation.
That's all right.
It rings true to my heart.
Yeah.
Makeup was how I got into DEI.
Yeah.
Diversity, equity, inclusion for everyone.
Okay. What's your name?
I generally went to the makeup counter.
Yeah.
I used to go to Rimmel. It discontinued my colour. And
Yeah.
to be honest, it wasn't my colour, to be fair. Had to mix it with general
Yeah, that
things.
happens a lot.
And the woman said, there's not many black people in the UK, so that's why they probably discontinued it. The way that I wrote a letter, built stats, and then said this is the population of black women.
Yes.
You're right. So this power report, I really want to kind of converse with you afterwards about, because my business are looking into how do we, look at people, truly build in demographic, real authentic work, and how do we do that? We have a thing called Sampan Yoshi, which is good for business, good for people, and good for society.
Like that.
And I think everyone, do your own little version, but really think about the consumers and how loud the consumers can be when they're disappointed. But how loud they can be also when they're served right. So it's just an echo and comment from that.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I was also going to say about when you feed this audience, you don't understand the loyalty that we have for when a brand really invests in us and takes time to get to know us and know what we like. It's not a lot of brands out there that really cater to us. And once we have a brand that really understands us and wants to, and we can feel that care, and they produce a product or a service for us, we're loyal.
Completely.
We don't change often because there's not a lot of brands that do it. So if you get that right with us, I feel like you're going to have customers for life.
For life. And that's what every brand wants. Thank you very much. Round of applause for that lady there. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Can we come off now? Yeah. I don't know if anybody else has a question, but thank you to you two for echoing that point, because it is so true. Because my mum stopped, bless her, she's passed now, but like I said, she shopped in Sainsbury's, and what do I do now? I thought, what am I doing? I'm walking in her footsteps. I'm literally doing everything that was brought into the household. And that's it. That's the power that brands have in the home. They become like a relative inside the home, So when you do it, and you do it well, and you do it authentically, and it doesn't matter if you make mistakes along the way, because human beings, we're prone to making mistakes, but it's about being intentional with the decisions that you're making to the audience that you need to be serving. So you need to be, my last thing I would say before I leave is please be confident in the spaces and the roles that you play. Know that every bit of knowledge and expertise that you have, it doesn't have to fall like, I don't know enough about black people or brown people or gay people or whatever. It's like the knowledge and expertise you have is incredible already. What you need to do is be curious, as curious you are about your other audiences. Do the same about the multi-ethnic audiences, and things will turn around. So this isn't diversity, this is diverse business, okay? Thank you very much. Thank you.